maybe you guys have given some answers. Maybe not 100% you are correct, but uh, I think 50 to 60% it is correct. So in the simplest way, how we can say that this is the raster dataset and this is the vector dataset. Suppose that if you take any map, okay, so like JPG map, PDF form, okay, or in any other image format, if you take the map in any kind of image format, like it can be JPG, it can be PNG, it can be TIFF, it can be .img, it can be GRD, okay. So if you see the structure of the raster dataset, so it can be arranged in a grids and cells. Okay. So if the structure of the dataset is arranged in the grids and cells, so that dataset can be referred as the raster dataset. Okay. And vector dataset can be generated from the raster dataset. It can be created in the form of point point dataset, it can be location, line dataset, okay, linear dataset, it can be road, it can be canal, or polygon dataset. Polygon dataset means it will be a closed boundary. So suppose that if you want to visualize a water body, if you want to visualize a particular uh, uh, forest boundary, or if you want to define your house boundary, so that will be a closed boundary. So that data set can be referred as the vector data set. Okay, and in the vector data set, the beauty of the vector data set, you can generate multiple attribute information. Okay, you can calculate area, stats, all these things with the in the form of vector data set. And however, the basic thing is that both the data sets will have the same coordinate system. If the both data set will have the same coordinate system, they can be overlaid to each other. Okay, so we will see how we can create the raster data set and vector data set. So let's come back to this QGIS interface. So this is the QGIS interface. If you see, so in the top of the site, you will see number of options are there or number of icons are there. Okay, so generally these icons or this panel, the entire panel where you can see these tools, okay, or these icons or these themes, what we can say, these themes. So this section can be referred as the uh, main interface panel, where you will get the some tools that you can use to uh, to organize the GIS geospatial data set here in this domain, to create, to manipulate, okay, and to visualize the things. So some of the open tools are there, okay, and here in the top of side you will see some functions are there, okay. So we will explore one by one each the functions, what kind of tools are associated in each function, or we can say in each module. Okay, so these are the broad modules, and inside each the module you will find number of functions. So each function can be utilized for different applications in this environment. And here in the left hand side, the second thing you will notice here, this browser, the browser window you can see here. This is the browser window. So in this browser window, you can you can see that the location of your directories, as you can see when you will go to here like this. So you have the C drive, E drive, F drive, E drive. Okay, so similar, the same drives you can visualize here. And in the browser window, if you want to open any kind of data set, then you can open from this browser window. So whatever the database you have kept in the directory, in any directory like in C drive, D drive, E drive, any drive, if you have kept the data, okay, that you are going to analyze here in this QGIS environment, that can be called from this browser window utilizing these directories that you can visualize here. Apart from that, some additional functions are there that we will see, okay, sometimes later. What is the use of these functions? In the downside, the layer window, another window is there. This is the layer window. So suppose that if you add any data set here, so the corresponding data set name or the particular file format or what kind of information is available with that particular layer, that you can see here in the layer window panel. That layer window panel you can see here. Now we will move towards the right hand side. Now here you can see the processing toolbox option is coming. So this is the processing toolbox window. So here you can see number of tools are available. Okay, so these tools generally we use to process the raster and vector dataset in QGIS, and we will apply most of the tools when we will do the hands-on practice on the different raster and vector data applications. Okay, and yesterday I have demonstrated you some open source GIS softwares are available like GRASS. I talked about the GRASS and Saga GIS. Okay, so these softwares, these two softwares are actually independent softwares, GRASS and Saga, but in the new version of the QGIS, they have inbuilt they what they have done. They have inbuilt these two open source GIS softwares in this QGIS. Okay, so you can use these two softwares independently, and you can perform the vector and raster data processing task uh, in these two softwares. But here in this QGIS environment, all the functionality that you can utilize as an independent software, standalone software for this GRASS or Saga, that is already inbuilt in the latest version of the QGIS. So you do not need to go for these GRASS or Saga OpenGIS softwares. So whatever the functionality you can use in these software, that is already inbuilt in the QGIS latest version. So this is another thing that you should keep in your mind. So most of the things you can utilize here based on these two open source software, and this improves the functionality as well as the applicability of this QGIS environment. Okay. Apart from that, and might be in some cases you can see that if you will install the QGIS, so might be this processing toolbox will not be highlighted here, as you can see here. Maybe in your case it is not displaying here, the right hand side. So you can go to the processing in the top hand side. You can see here the second last option is the processing. So you can go to the processing and you can select or deselect. Okay. So if you click here, so automatically this processing toolbox will be added. And you know that Python actually uses the this QGIS actually uses the Python environment in the backend. So sometimes some functions are not enabled when you will install this QGIS. Okay, so and if you want to perform that particular function here in this toolbox window, and that is not enabled, so you need to install that particular library in this QGIS environment. So we have the facility, we can install some additional libraries that can be utilized here in this environment to process the raster and vector data set. Okay, so Now you can see here in the project, the first option is coming is the project. So in this option, you can create a new project while clicking here, and you can save your project. Suppose that you are working in a particular project, and if you don't save this project, you do some work, and after finishing your work, you just close this QGIS. So all the information will be lost. Okay, and you cannot add, or either when you will open again, so you will not be able to open again the same project that you had created earlier. Okay, so for that purpose, when you will create new project, you always need to create a new project, and after that you can save the project. Okay, so whenever we will start on the working on this QGIS environment. First, we need to create a project, and after that, we will save the project. Okay, so next time when you will try to open the existing project that you have already saved, so you will be able to open in the next time if you have successfully saved the project. So this is another thing. Then open option is there. So like suppose that you have successfully saved the project. So in this function, like uh, utilizing this open uh, function, okay, you can open the existing project. Another thing is that edit. So suppose that you are working in the particular project, and you have created some GIS or some raster or vector dataset layers, and you want to edit, you want to modify some layers. So for that purpose, some uh, uh, tools are available here. Okay, so each tool will show you a different application as per the requirement. You can call the respective tool, and you can apply, and you can do the editing, okay, in the existing database. Right now these options are disabled because we have not yet started working on this in this QGIS. Okay, we have not created any project, or we have not saved any project, or we have not added any layer. So these options are right now these options are disabled. But when you will start working on this, so these options will be enabled. The third option is the view. So some tools are there. So if you want to visualize the things here in this map window, okay. So this is the main visualization environment in the QGIS. Okay. So this section referred as the map window. Here you can visualize, and here you can do the processing and all the things you will do here that you can visualize here. So in the layer option, you will get some layer related information. You can suppose that you want to create a new file, then you can create with this icon. And suppose that if you want to delete any particular layer, that you can delete. And when you want to open the existing raster or vector dataset, then you can open from this. Then some settings are there. Okay, so like if you want to set any projection system, or the extent, or the map scale, so settings option is there. You can go and you can do the things. Then plugins. So this is the very important. Uh, I can say this is a very important module of this QGIS environment. So here, if you will click here in the plugins, so you can see the first option is the manage and install plugins. So let's explore it. So if you open, so this kind of window will be popped up, plugins. So here you can see a number of options are there. So first option is the all. So if you will click, so you can see that these are the plugins. Plugins means actually the installed libraries or tools. So maybe so whatever the libraries or whatever the tools that you will use in the QGIS environment, okay, so that you can see here, and for that particular tool is there, particular plugin is there. Okay, so you can get the information of all the plugins that is inbuilt in this QGIS environment to process the raster and vector data set. The second thing is that the installed plugins. So now you can see here, these are the installed plugins. So by default, when you will install, so all these plugins will be automatically installed, and some plugins might be not installed when you will install the software. So as per the requirement of the respective tool, if that is disabled, so you can click here like this. Suppose that I am I want to install the particular plugin like DM2 3D. So you can see here the information, the metadata information you can read here about the particular tool or the particular plugin here. So this tool is there for the creation of 3D based on the DM, digital relation model. Okay, so right now this plugin is not installed in this QGIS environment. So you need to install the plugin. So if your system is connected with the internet, so this plugin can be installed here directly by clicking this install plugin. So, so whatever the tool you need, you can install here, and also you can uninstall the plugins and upgradable. So suppose that you have already installed the plugin, but the updated version is also available for that plugin, and might be you are not able to use the latest functionality in the previously installed plugins. So you can do the upgrade here. You can select the particular plugin which you want to upgrade, and you can click on the install plugin and you can do the updation. Then new, so some new plugins are also there. Like if you want to call the plugins from outside of the environment, like when you will install, so most of the things you can visualize here in the all. But suppose that if you are aware about a particular tool which is not already there in this list, so that you can call, and that you can type here search, and suppose that here it is showing some plugins. So similarly you can click and you can install. Some plugins are already there, like you have created some plugins, as I have said that this GUI, this is the GUI based interface. So GraphQL user interface, because this is designed for the users who they don't have the they don't have the background in the programming. But as you know that in the backend, this QGIS uses the Python. So some tools you can develop and you can share in the open domain, because this is the open domain software. So you can share. Okay, if you search some QGIS plugins, so you will find at GitHub. So might be some of you have used the GitHub to call these kind of tools, and from there you can call. And some setting option is there that you can use to like add, delete, like you want to delete some plugin or you want to add, so that you can do. Okay, so suppose that if some function you are utilizing here based on this tool that is not enabled or that is not installed, or if it needs upgradation, so all the things can be managed by here. The second thing is the Python console. So now you can see here, if you will click here the Python console, so if somebody is working in the Python environment, so they are aware about the console, the application of the console window, okay, in the Python environment. So here you can write your own code, or if you will use any particular tool, so the respective code can be highlighted here, And if you want to update the code, or if you want to add something, if you want to edit the code, and suppose that you want to modify the tool as per your requirement, might be the tool, because most of the tools are existing, but might be in some case that tool is not working as per your requirement, or the functionality of the tool is not designed in a way that you need actually. So what here you can do, you can modify the code and you can update the functionality as per your requirement. So that is also there. But for that purpose, you should be aware about the basic programming, okay, of the Python. So, in my yesterday's presentation, I have shared some tools that can be utilized to process the raster and vector dataset in the GIS domain. So the similar tools can be used here. The similar codes you can copy and paste here, and after that you can make your own tool and you can do the processing like that. So I would suggest that if you are aware about the basics of the programming, then you must go with this option. So as we close this, okay. So in the vector, now the next option is the vector. So here in this vector option, if you will see here, so you will see that lot of functionalities and lot of tools are there. Like if we click here, so buffer, clip, difference, dissolve, intersection, union. So number of tools are there. So these tools generally we use to process. Generally we use to process the vector data set. So related to vector data processing, whatever the tools you can use mostly are there here in this module. Similarly, in the raster module, you will find number of tools that can be utilized to process the raster data set, like georeferencing. So georeferencing for a raster map can be done using this georeferencer tool that I am will demonstrate to you here after some time. So similarly, the other functions are also there. Okay, like projection. If you want to change the projection of a particular layer, so how you can do that. So in this way, you can do that. So I will show you how you can do that. So some other tools are there. Okay, so you need to explore one by one what kind of the functionality and what kind of functions are there to process the raster data set. So database, so here database editing, like if you save your project, so by default it will create a database for your project work, and you can manage your data set based on the different themes, based on the different objectives. So here the database management options are there that you can do. So similarly, some another functions are there like web. Suppose that you want to open layers plugin. So here Google Maps you can see here. Okay, Google Satellite. So all these plugins are there directly you can install. But might be in your case it is not showing because I have already installed these plugins in my QGIS environment. So it is showing here. So similarly, you can also install the same plugin. You can search here, like I have shown you, na, plugin manage and install plugin. So you can see that open layers plugin. Okay, so you can search, and after that you will find that if there is a plugin for that particular application, you can install from the plugins. So then mesh calculator, then SCP. So some another functionality are also there. Okay, and processing. I have already told you about the processing toolbox, how you can add and how you can like add and you can remove this toolbox. So this is the basics about the QGIS interface, and so this is the basic about the QGIS interface. And now we will see that how we can do the georeferencing using this QGIS. So I would suggest that everyone please look at your directory, that directory, and where you have saved the example dataset that I have provided to you. So like I have saved my data set in the C drive. In this folder, RSGIS training NPTI this. So I will go to inside this folder and I will see that georeferencing. I will go in this folder, inside this folder, and I will find that this map is there. This JPG format. The format, if you want to check the format of the map, then you can check it here. Just give me 1 minute. Hello. अच्छा ओके ठीक है अभी मैं ट्रेनिंग में हूँ थोड़ी देर बाद अभी मैं ट्रेनिंग में हूँ मैं बाद में करता हूँ sorry for this so everyone has this map JPG map at your end. Can somebody confirm that?
Yes, sir, we have the map.
Yes, okay, fine, thank you. So, in this map, we will do the georeferencing. Okay, so one thing is that in a two-way, you can add the layers. One is the very simple option, I can tell you. One is the very simple option. You can just like this, you can select and drag into your window. So automatically this map will be added here. Okay, now you can see that you just need to go to your directory and you just select and you can drag and drop like this. Like you drop files in your Gmail to add some files. Directly you can drag and drop now. So in the similar way you can do it here. So as I have said that when you will add any kind of map here, okay, or any kind of data set, so the metadata information of this layer can be seen here. So as you know that the name of this file is 1370 southern India. Okay, so that you can see here. So the name of the file is coming here, and you can see here one grid or cells like structure or item you can see here. So this is the identification of the raster or vector dataset in the QGIS environment. So as you can see here, this layer is showing in this grid format. Okay, the cells structure like you can see here in this item. So that means this layer is the raster dataset. So this is the identity in the QGIS. In this way you can identify, this layer represents to which kind of data set, like raster or vector data set. Okay, so this is the one option that you can add. Another option is that I am going to remove this file. If you want to remove this file, what simply you can do, you can select this layer, do the right click like this, and you will find this option, remove layer. Okay, remove layer. You just click on the remove layer. It will ask remove one legend entries. Okay, so the layer will be gone. So that means the layer has been removed from this layer panel. The second option is that how you can add the data set. You can go to browser window, go to C drive and locate the directory where you have kept your data set. Like I have kept my data set in C drive. Under this folder, I will first I will find out my folder where I have kept my data, and in georeferencing folder I can see that this JPG image is there. I can directly select and drop it here. So again it will add here. These two options are there. Okay, these two options you have already seen how you can add the layer. So in this way you can add the layer, and if you want to remove, again I can tell you, just click here, do the right click and go to remove layer and remove it like this. Okay, now the very basic procedure and the correct procedure how you can add the data set in your QGIS map window in this domain. Okay, the correct procedure is to add the data set. Go to the layer option. You can see in the top hand side, you can see the fourth option is coming, the layer option. The third option is coming is the add layer option. If you go to the add layer, under the add layer option, you will find the add raster layer, add vector layer, add mesh layer, add delimited text layer. So different kind of data sets you can add here. So here, as you know that I am going to georeference the map. So map is in the raster format. So I will select the add raster layer icon. So when you will click on the add raster layer, you can see here again, go to layer, add layer, click on the add raster layer. When you will do the click, this data source manager window will be popped up. Okay, and by default you can see here the raster option is selected. In the left hand side you can see that. Then you need to find out the source. So here this icon, from this icon you can browse your directory where you have kept your data. Go to the directory, like I will locate to my C drive, as you can locate to your respective drive where you have kept the data. Go to C drive and locate your folder, and like this folder, and select this one and click on the open. So this open button is coming. You need to click on the open button. Now you can see the corresponding path of your respective data set has been added here. You can see it here. Okay. After that, if you move towards the downside panel, then you can see three options are coming: close, add, and help. So click on the add button. If you will click on the add button and then close it. So now you can see that your raster map has been added here like this. Now you can see it here, right? So in this way, in the three way, you can add your data set. But the correct way is to add the data set. First, you need to go to layer, then go to add layer, and go to either a vector layer, either raster layer, or any kind of data set that is there. Select the appropriate option and locate your directory where you have kept the data and open the data set. Okay. So now we will do the georeferencing. So as you know that to work in the remote sensing.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So
Yeah.
just want to know what's wrong in other two ways. So is there anything wrong in other two ways?
Yeah. I can tell you. Suppose that you are working with the a vector data set, so it can be multiple files. Like if you save the save file, so one save file will have another sub files, right? One file, one file there for projection, one file there for database information, one file there for your some another information. Okay, so you will be confused, like which file I need to select here, because that information will not be displaying here. Okay.
Sure.
So that for that purpose, always you need to go to here, and if you will open browse the files from here, then you will get to know the which is the correct thing, and after that you can select the appropriate data as you want to add, right? Otherwise, in a smart way, you can
Sure,
use.
sure.
If you are
Understood.
sure that this is the correct.
Just to avoid the human error, right?
Yeah. That's it. That's
All right. All right.
So in this way, you can add. Now, one thing I want to clear here, to work in the GIS domain, first you need to georeference the data set. If this layer doesn't have any coordinate system, you cannot generate any kind of information. Okay. And in GIS domain, very first thing, we need to provide the geographic lat long information. Okay. So first uh, we need to provide the geographic coordinate system to this map, and after that we will convert this geographic coordinate system to the projected coordinate system to derive the further information. Okay, we will discuss more on this. So here now in this topo sheet map, you can see that this is the topo sheet actually. So for georeferencing, actually you need some known locations on the map where you have the coordinate information. Like here in this topo sheet, you can see that already the coordinate information is there. Okay, but if you don't have this kind of map, suppose that you have the map uh, which which doesn't have that grid system, or this information is not available that you can see here. Like if I can zoom, so now you can see that this is the line, these are the lines are there, and some coordinate information is there. Okay, so might be in some cases you don't have this gridding system in your map, and you don't have this known locations which is having some latitude and longitude information. So you can go to the reference known point. Like suppose that you can go to this location, and you can use your mobile. You can collect the latitude longitude information like from mobiles. Like in these days, in most of the smartphones, you will have the GPS. So you utilizing the GPS functionality, or you can use the GPS to get the coordinates of the particular location. It can be near to your area, and some whatever the locations are required, we will discuss more on that. Okay, so suppose that 4 locations are required to project this map. So 4 known locations, at 4 known locations you should have the latitude longitude information. So either it should be there in the map, like in Survey of India topo sheet map, or this kind of map if you will use. So you will get the reading system, and you can provide the coordinate information. But if you don't have, so what simply you can do, you can take a reference. Suppose that you are aware about this particular region, and you know that suppose that you can identify some known locations based on the given attribute information on the map, and you can go to the particular respective place, and you collect the latitude longitude information, and based on that you can provide. So in this way you can do the georeferencing. So here you can see,
Sir, I have a question.
yeah.
Why 4 reference points are required? Why
Yeah,
not
yeah.
3?
We will discuss in the
Or 2?
yeah, in the coming slides. We will discuss it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. We will discuss sure. So here, because I want to go from the basics. So here now you can see that some information is there. Okay, some information is there. Like some numbers are written here. Here it is written 70. Here it is written 75. Here it is written 80. Here it is written 85. Here it is written 90. In the similar way, if you move from here, I am moving from west to east in the direction. So the numbers are changing like this: 70, 75, 80, 85. And if I will move, suppose that from south to north, so here now you can see that here numbers are written 5, here numbers are written 10, here numbers are written like 15, okay, and so on. So now can somebody tell me what are these numbers and what are these gaps? Suppose that here 70, here 75. So what will be the scale of this
These
map?
are latitudes and longitudes, sir.
So which are the values representing here in this map for latitudes, and which are values representing in this map for longitudes?
So vertical lines are for longitudes, and the horizontal lines are for the latitudes,
Vertical lines are for the
longitudes.
longitudes, vertical lines, and horizontal lines are for the latitudes. This is correct. So if you will move from west to like in the east direction, and whatever the values will change, that will represent the longitudinal variations. And if you will move from the like from south to north, and whatever the values are changing, that is representing the latitudinal variations. Okay, so this is understood, and here the variations is of. So this is in actually degree. These values are representing in degrees. So this is 70 degree, this is 75 degree, this is 80 degree, this is 85 degree. So the gap of the two columns between the two columns are 5 degree. So that means the 5 degree interval is there in the columns, and here you can see that 5 degree interval is also there in the latitude. So now you can see it here. Okay, and another very important thing is that if you do the georeferencing, so we always go for the clockwise directions or anti-clockwise directions. Okay, it should not be like that. Suppose that if you are putting any points here, like suppose that one point you are putting here, another points you are putting here, the third point you are putting here, and fourth point you are putting here. It shouldn't be like this. You always should follow the clockwise direction. Okay, then your transformation will be whatever the transformation you will use, that will give the most accurate values. Okay, so actually here okay, so now we will move towards the georeferencing of this map. Yeah, okay. So first we will provide this uh, uh, map as a geographic coordinate system. Okay, that means we are going to provide the latitude, longitude information to this map. As if you will if you select this layer here, in this layer option you can see here, if you select and if you go to the properties, so you can see that the second option is coming the source. So here in this source information you can see that this is assigned coordinate reference system. Assigned coordinate reference system CRS. So here it is showing the invalid projection. So that means this layer is not in the projected coordinate system right now. Okay? So that means this layer does not have any kind of projection system. Okay? So in this way you can get to know that whether this map has been already projected or not. So what you can do, you can select the layer, go to properties. This layer properties window will be popped up, and in the information source, in the source you can see that assigned coordinate reference system CRS. So here you can see that it is showing invalid projection. So that means this layer does not have any kind of projection system. So we will provide the geographic coordinate system first. So for that purpose, what you can do here, you can go to the raster. In the top of the panel, you can see that the raster option is there. Go to the raster and click on the georeferencer. So this georeferencer option you need to select, and if you will select here, so this georeferencer, the new window will be popped up like this, as you can see it here. Now I can delete this layer here, remove. I have already removed this layer, you can also do the same. So now you can see here, when you will open this georeferencer window, so in this in the top of the panel you will see that some modules are there. So file is there, edit is there, view is there, and setting is there. So first we will need to click on the file. In the file, you can see that open raster. The second option is coming is the open raster. So we will select this open raster like this. and locate towards our directory where we have saved our data. And see, like, go to georeferencing, select this one and open. So now you can see that now this map has been added in the georeferencer window, not in the main map window. You can remove if it is added, then you can remove from here like layers. You can remove, and after that you can go to file, go to open raster and select the map by locating the appropriate directory where you have saved the data and open this map. Now you have understood that this referencing system. So what kind of information it is available here that we will use to project this map. So here now you can see that these tools are there. Once you will successfully add this map here in this window, these options are highlighted. Some options are highlighted here. So if you will select this icon, you can see here in the yellow color icon here like this. So add point. So this is our GPS. Okay, this is our GPS, local GPS, and based on this icon, based on this tool, we will add the point here in this map, and we will provide the information of the corresponding latitude and longitude information to this map. Okay, but before that, we need to set up the some functionality, or we can say some variable information that we are going to use for the georeferencing. Okay. So in the setting options, the fourth option is the settings. Go to the settings, and the first option is coming is the transformation settings. So click on the transformation settings. So this another new window will be popped up like this. You can see here. So the first option is coming is the transformation. So somebody was asking why we give the 4 points to do the georeferencing. It is not mandatory that you always give 4 points, but minimum 4 points are required if you are using the polynomial order 1. Okay, for polynomial order 2, you should provide at least minimum 6 points, because if you are aware about the polynomial order equation, if you will solve the polynomial order equation, then you first order equation, if you will solve, then you must know that we must provide at least 4 variables. Okay, based on that we can solve the equation. Similarly, if you are going to solve the polynomial order second equation, then you must provide at least 6 variables. So here also we use the same method, and we are going to solve the equation based on that our variables that we are going to provide it here like x and y. Okay, based on that we will solve this polynomial order 1 or 2 equation. So right now here we are going to use the polynomial order equation 1. So that is why at least 4 points are necessary to solve this equation. Okay. The another method is the resampling method is the nearest neighbor. So suppose that you will provide one coordinate information, one latitude longitude information here, another suppose that here the third information is here and fourth here. So based on that, it will do the resampling and it will provide the coordinate information to the other areas. Okay, just like another interpolation methods. Okay, so here number of methods are there: linear interpolation, cubic spline, and line cost. So as we know that nearest neighbor is the very popular method for the interpolation. Okay, so we will use the nearest neighbor method and target SRS. So now you can see here, if you will click here, the coordinate reference system selector. So here you can see that you need to select the geographic coordinate system. So this is EPSG 4326 is there for the geographic WGS34 projection system. So we will select here. Okay, this we will select here, EPSG 4326. You need to select. Or if you can enter here the which transformation, which coordinate system you want to use, that you need to write it here and you can select. So always, if it is not displaying here 4326, then you can type it here like 43 EPSG, like EPSG 4326. So automatically it will come. Okay, so coordinate reference system, geographic coordinate system. So here now you can see that WGS84 EPSG 4326. You need to, and now if you want to see the metadata information about this coordinate system, so you can visualize it here. Now you can see that. These are the parameter details of this coordinate system. Okay, so this is geographic WGS84. The datum is the World Geodetic System 1984. Ellipsoid is this. Okay, the centroid information of the ellipsoid is given here. Okay, and some angular information like the unit is in degree, because we are going to provide the latitude longitude information. So here you can visualize the parametric information about the particular geographic coordinate system and click on the OK button. So automatically it will be selected here like this. Then the second option is the output settings. In the output settings, you need to save the georeference map. Okay. So here you can click, you can browse, and you can save your modified or projected map in the geographic coordinate system based projected map. You can save. Okay, because we will use this map for further processing. So we will again locate towards our directory, like C in the same folder. I am going to give the name like here, 1870 Southern India. By default is taking, and I am going to do the name like this underscore geographic before. Identical name you can give, so like this, and the save type as if. Okay, whatever name you want to give, you can give. Okay, but you should always give an identical name, so you can identify the respective map later. So in this way, you can save. Click on the save button and click on the OK, and do not disturb the rest of the things. Okay, click on the OK. After that, you can see that your transformation has been set, and after that, this tool, in the tool panel, you can see number of tools are there. From the left hand side, the second tool is the start georeferencing. This tool is there. You can see it here. If you will click here, the start georeferencing, polynomial first transformation require at least 3 GCPs. Okay, so now you can see that right now I have not given any point to this map, so it has given error. That means we need to give the minimum 4 GCPs here. I mean 3 GPs. To solve the equation, you need 4 variables. But when in this map, you will put the 3 values, the 4th value automatically it can take. So now I will click it here to add the points, like this point, I will add it here. So as I have said that you should always follow the clockwise direction. So now you can see it here. I will take this location, this crossing location, and here I can see that the longitude value is 70, the latitude value is 15. I will click it here, and you always need to make the point where exactly it is crossing. So here I will give this point. When you will do the click on the particular crossing point, this another intermap coordinates window will be popped up. So actually here you can see that here the coordinate values are given in the degrees. But if you will use some fine resolution scale topo sheets, then you will find the values are written in the degree, minute, and second. Okay, so but here you always need to put the values in the degree decimal. So degree, minute, second values you can change into the degree decimal values. Then you need to put. But here, as you know that we have already the values in the degree, so we are not going to change in the uh, degree, minute, second to degree decimal. But if you will use the high resolution maps like 1:10,000 or 1:50,000 scale based Survey of India topo sheets maps or any other map which is having the coordinate values in the degree, minute, second, then you need to convert the coordinate values in the degree decimal form. Okay, and whatever the manual I have provided you, in that manual I have written that how you can convert the degree, minute, second to the degree decimal. Okay, so here now you can see that my x value is the 70. I will put 70.0, and the y value is 15. I will put my y value 15.0. Okay. Now you can see the point has been added, and how and the accuracy of this georeferencing will actually depend on how exactly or how precisely you put the point. So now I will move towards this direction. So here again you can see that this is 90, this is 15. So I will put another point here like this. You can see अभी ट्रेन चल रही है. So x value is representing 90 here, and the y value is representing 15 here, like this. Okay. Then I will move here in the downside, in the clockwise direction I am moving. So again another point I will give here. So the x value is 90.0, the y value is 5.0, and I will move in this direction like this, and I will put this point. So now I will put this point. Here it is, as we know that here it is 70 and 5. So this is 70.0 and this is 5.0. And please be sure that whether we have given the corrected values or not. Okay. You can see that some shifting is there. That means we have not given the precise precisely. I have not given. I have just randomly given the point. You can do some more zoom, and after that you can put the point exactly where it is crossing. And after that you can either you can go from here, start georeferencing, or you can click on this tool. So it will do start georeferencing, and your map will be georeferenced. Now we can click here, start georeferencing, and now you can see that this information has come like that. Georeferencing has been done. So now I can save my GCP points where I have given these points. So you can save the GCP points. For the saving GCP points, you can go to the file, go to save GCP point as, click, and you can save the GCP point. So I can save the GCP point by giving some identical name like GCP. Similarly, you can save, and after that we can close this. Okay. So now in the browser window, now you can see that in the browser window, now you can see that if you go to C drive and locate your directory, and if you go to the same folder, and if you will open, then now you can see that the geo FT4, that map I have recently georeferenced, that has been added here in this folder, and I can add it to here. Now you can see that some tilt, now my map has been tilt in some direction. So that means this map has been projected. As now, if I will move my cursor here, and here you can see that this layer has been added, and if we will go to the properties, now you can check that whether this map has been projected or not. You can go to properties and you can now see that in the information and source. Now you can see that assigned coordinate reference system is the EPSG 4326 WGS FP4. So that means now this map has been projected. Okay. Now you can see here in the uh, in the in the downside panel. In this panel, now you can see that information panel. Generally, this panel is called as information panel. So here you can see that the coordinate values are representing here. Okay, and the scale is also there. So if I will move my cursor from here to the up direction, from south to north, then you can see that it is changing the mostly it is changing the latitude values. Okay, it's changing the latitude values. And if I will move my cursor from west to east direction, so it is changing the longitude values. And each grid and each point in the map, now you can get the coordinate values, like you can see. So now this map has been projected. See, suppose that this map has been projected, now you can overlay this map to any kind of projected GIS layers. Either it will be raster layer or vector layer. Okay, so now you can overlay your map. But one thing you should remember that when you are going to derive further information from this map, because this is a reference map, generally we use this map as a reference map to generate the attribute information. Okay. However, this map has very coarse resolution. So at higher spatial scale information, attribute information we cannot generate. But whatever the things you can visualize it here, you can you can identify and you can generate the attribute information. Like here, you can identify in this map. Okay, this is Cochin, and this is. You can identify some features here. This is actually this is river. This is which river? This is. This is another. Okay. Madurai, you can see the location of Madurai. Okay, and in this way, whatever the features are here. So this is the Collier Lake. Collier Lake. So here you can see, but this map is very old. So if you match with the current satellite images, so might be some things you will not get. But in this way, you can generate the attribute information. But if you want to derive any layer from this map, so this map should be in the projected coordinate system, because if you will see it here again, you need to go to the properties, and if you will explore the information about this particular projection system, so you will see that the angular unit of this particular coordinate system is the geographic. Sorry, in the degree decimal. So you cannot calculate the length and area. For that, the measuring unit, or we can say the mapping unit, should be in the meter, okay, or in SI units. So for that, you need to convert the geographic coordinate system to the projected coordinate system. So let's see what is the basic difference between the geographic coordinate system and the projected coordinate system. So I'm going to open one slide here. So here, if you can see it here, So you can better understand with these figures. Okay, so this is here you can how here you can imagine that we have seen in the image what are the longitude values and what are the latitude values. So here, as I have told you, if you will move from the south direction to the north direction, so your latitude values will be changing. So here you can see that in the south direction, this is from minus 90. If you will move towards the northern region, so it will be minus 60, minus 30, 0 at equator, then 30 and 60 and 90. So if you will move from south to the north direction, then your latitude values will be changed. And if you will move from the west to east region, then your longitude values will be changed. That is from minus 90 to 90. So this is the 180-degree movement. So here, if you will move from here to here, then your longitude values will be changed. So here now you can see that the longitude specifies positions east and west as the angle between the prime meridian and a second meridian that intersects the point of interest. This longitude ranges from plus 80 degree to minus 180 degree. So this is that you can see that. The latitude specifies positions north and south in terms of the angle subtended at the center of the earth between two imaginary lines, one that intersects the equator and another that intersects the point of interest. So latitude ranges from plus 90 to minus 90. Okay. At the south pole, a line of latitude is also known as the parallel. So this is the difference between the geographic versus projected coordinate system. So here you can see the structure of the geographic coordinate system. So here you will get any information in terms of the latitude and longitude. Okay, so this is your location. This is your location. So if you want to compare this location from here to here, then you can tell that we are moving from here to here. That means we are moving from this degree to this degree. Okay. So, but you cannot say that like at what kilometers you have moved from here to here, or what is the distance between if you will move from here to here. So that is why some projected coordinate systems have been developed, and the three-dimensional world, we can say that, has been simplified in the forms of the two-dimensional world. So here this representation has been simplified in this manner. So the example of the projected coordinate system is the Universe Transverse Mercator, that is UTM WGS34, that you can refer here. The same location is appearing here. So here this is 40 degree west and 50 degree north. So this is your location in terms of GCS coordinate system. And if you want to see that what is the unit of this degree in the meter, measuring unit, so this will be represented by these numbers. So in a projected coordinate system, locations are identified by XY coordinates on a grid with the origin at the center of the grid. Each position has two values that reference it to the central location. One specifies its horizontal position and other its vertical position. So that means if you can see that if you will move from here to here, then suppose that if you are moving in the x direction, okay, or if you are moving in the x direction, or if you are moving in the y direction, so you can calculate the distance based on the projected coordinate system. So here you can see that the basic thing is that in the projected coordinate system, the linear unit or mapping unit will be in meters, and in the geographic coordinate system, the unit or angular unit or measuring unit will be degrees. So in So now I will close this. So
Sir, which of the two is more accurate?
sorry.
Sir, which of the two systems, geographic and projected, is more accurate?
Both are accurate. I am not discussing here about the accuracy. Actually, what is the need of the conversion? Suppose that the Earth, the actually the structure of the Earth is in the three-dimensional. Okay, there is a X, there is a Y, and there is a Z. But if you do the work on GIS domain, then you have to work with the raster map or GIS data set. Like in this raster map, you don't have the Z angle, you don't have the elevation angle, we can say that. So this is two-dimensional map. Okay, so we use some transformation methods and we convert the geographic transformation to the projected transformation, so we can calculate the distance based on the changes in the degree and minute and second. So if you see that, if you see the calculations, so I can tell you the 1 degree is approximate representing the 100 kilometer distance. 1 degree will be equivalent to 100 kilometer. Or sometimes maybe in somewhere you will read that it varies 108 or something like this. So based on that, you can calculate the distance. And here in this domain, we are going to drive so that you want to calculate the length of the particular road, you want to calculate the length of the canal, or you want to calculate suppose that you have a watershed boundary or state boundary or district boundary, and you want to calculate the area of your polygon or the boundary. So if your projection system is in the geographic coordinate system, so you will not be able to calculate the length and area. Okay, because the angular unit is in the degrees, you cannot calculate that things. So for that calculations, for the measuring calculations, for the you need to convert the geographic to the projected coordinate system. Then only you will be able to calculate the length of the canal or area of the boundary. So here my purpose was to highlight the difference between the geographic and projected coordinate system is to understand that if your map has in the geographic coordinate system, you cannot derive the information. Like attributive information, you cannot generate. Understood?
But my question was basically that
Yeah.
1 degree change,
Yeah.
1 degree change in the suppose latitude, 1 degree change in the latitude will vary from, as per the distance or the angular distance from the
Yeah,
equator
yeah.
also.
Yeah. Actually, for that purpose, if you see in the projected coordinate system, we use the reference datum. In geographic coordinate system, you have the datum information. At the datum, you will have the most accurate point information about the latitude and longitude. And based on the reference datum, like whatever the projected coordinate system, those have been developed, those uses the datum information. Okay. So for different regions, they have used different datums, and based on the reference datum, they calculate the distance for any particular location within that particular region. So if you move towards from the datum, then your distortions will be more. Okay. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah. So if you are close, if you are suppose that here in this map, if you can see that I have taken the reference datum at this particular point. Okay. So if you calculate the distance from here to here, means within some distance, so your mapping unit will be more accurate than this point particular, because we are moving towards far from the datum. So as you move far from the datum, which is the reference actually,
Yes,
that
sir.
for any transformation from geographic to projected, we are using the reference datum values. And if you see the reference datum values in the projected coordinate system, so you can understand the distortions. So in the projected coordinate system, if we calculate the distance, suppose that the reference datum is here, and if you are going to measure the distance from here to here, from reference datum to the up to this point, so my values will be more accurate than this point. because we are moving far from the datum. So it depends on the datum information, and also it depends on the distance. Okay, so as you increase the length of the measuring distance, your distortions will be high. But in the recent like now recent projection systems, like some standard projection systems they have developed, like Lambert conformal coordinate. Mercator is the very old projected coordinate system. Okay, but some location specific coordinate system, projected coordinate systems have been developed, which they have a very high accuracy, because for that particular reference they use their own reference datum. Okay, so the accuracy will be more for that. I think no lecture has been taken on this topic.
No, sir.
Okay, so might be in some coming sessions you will get this lecture on, especially on this. Otherwise, you can ask who is going to take the lecture on this.
Like we're showing linear require at least 3 GCPS. Actually, what is that issue? Actually,
Sorry.
when I go for the transformation setting,
Uh,
at that time, there when we go for the finalization of OK, it says that linear require at least 3 GCPS is fine mode. What is the exactly meaning of that?
I have already told you. Have you ever solved the polynomial equation?
Uh, I gone for the polynomial 1.
Polynomial one. So you can see that if you solve the polynomial one equation, polynomial order one equation basically.
Yeah.
So how many variables are required to solve the equations? I think at least 3 variables.
Yeah.
So based on the 3 variables, you can solve the another 4th variable. So similarly, if you will put the 3 GCP coordinates here, so automatically the 4th variables will be generated and the 4th points will be generated, and based on that you can calculate the errors in the existing in another 3 points.
Okay.
Okay. So for polynomial order 1, minimum 3 points are required, 4 points will be added, but for the error computation you need to do the 4 point. So with reference to the 4 point you can calculate the error. Okay, and if you use the polynomial order second equation, then I think minimum 5 points are required, then 6 points will be calculated. You can calculate the 6th variable. Okay, and based on that you can check the difference, you can check the error, like how precisely you have given the points and what are the errors are there.
So which one is your usually used, sir, out of this?
I think if your map is very coarse, then you should go for the higher order polynomial equation. Okay, and if your map has a very fine, available on a very finer scale resolution, then polynomial order 1 is okay. Otherwise, like in this map, that is the grid size of this map is 5 degrees. So this map has a very coarse resolution. So actually, we should use the polynomial order second or third. But for practice purpose, we have seen that we can use 1, 2, or 3. Okay, but if you want to maintain the accuracy, then if your map has a very coarser resolution, then you can go for the higher order equation. And if you have a very fine scale resolution map, so you can go with the first order equation. That is fine.
Thank you, sir.
So
Excuse me.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm having one query regarding georeferencing. In this map, when we basically georeference this survey of India map, so if we don't have these grid lines and we are already having the existing layer with us,
Yeah.
that is already georeferenced, so can we basically overlay and georeference another map which is not having basically
Yeah,
grid lines?
surely. That's what I
So
want
how
to
can we do that?
Suppose that if you have any raster layer or vector data layers, if those layers are georeferenced, you can do the overlapping. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I'm asking.
yeah, yeah. If problem is that if the coordinate, sometimes what happens, suppose that in one layer you have different projection system, in one layer you have different projection system. So some you can identify some shift, okay, or might be it is possible that your map will not be overlaid to the particular layer. But if both the layers or whatever the number of layers you are using in the GIS domain, if those layers are having the same projection system, so it can be overlaid.
Right, right. Because because we have already georeferenced this layer, right? So if we have to add, we are having another map which is not georeferenced,
Hmm.
right? So we want to basically georeference that map with this map, which we
Yeah,
already
you can do that.
georeferenced.
You can do
We
that.
can do that. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
you
sir.
can do that. Suppose that you have now you have this map georeferenced, and suppose that
Right,
you have any data which is not georeferenced.
right.
So in this map, you know the coordinate values at this point. And you can you can take the reference of this point, particular point, and you can add the same coordinate value at the same location on the map which is not georeferenced. And based on the same procedure, you can do that thing.
Okay. That case, we need to add the coordinate value, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Is
here
there
I can show you here.
right, right.
Now you can see here, and if you will open this, sorry, this georeferencer, and suppose that if you open this raster map, like this is georeferenced, okay?
Right.
Sorry, yeah, this is georeferenced map, okay?
Right.
And now you want to like you want to add any you want to no, something has wrong. Okay, so this is reference map, and suppose that this is here in this raster. I can go to georeferencer, and here I will open the map which is not georeferenced. Okay, now you see that here this is the map. This is already georeferenced in this
Right.
map window, and this map has not any coordinate system information. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So now simply what you can do, first you can go to settings, put the transformation setting as you have already seen that, and after that you can go here, click on the add points. Okay. Then first you need to add the points here, like the similar and any particular point. Now you can see here. Suppose that I am putting the point here, putting the point here. Okay. Then here you can see the option is coming from map canvas. Okay.
Right.
Click on this, click on this. So automatically you can see the values has been taken from the georeference map.
Okay, okay, okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Understood?
That's what I was asking. Thank you very much. Yes, yes.
Okay. So in the similar way you can do that. One map is reference.
Sure.
So this is your reference map. You can open in the main panel window, and whatever the map you want to georeference, you just go to here, open here. Okay.
Right.
Like this, and first you need to put the point here. Suppose that this point is here, and at the same location here you need to search from
Okay.
that canvas, and you can put it here, and like that you can see that already the points have been added.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, sure,
In this way you can do the referencing.
sure. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So
From the example you have shown, the two maps are quite similar. In fact, these are the same one. What will happen then? We'll have maps from two different eras. Suppose one map is from 1800s and another one is from 2000, and there is a change in the accuracy of recording of the cartographic maps also. And still we are trying to georeference one of the maps, the older map with reference to the newer map, which is more accurate one. So in that case, there will be some kind of this recording errors and the distortions also.
yeah, there can be some error if you are not putting the right information. Okay, so how you can do this? I can explain it here. Suppose that here I am putting the information like this. So suppose that this is my reference map. It can be satellite map also, or it can be whatever the map which is referenced. Okay. So that first you need to add it here in the map window, main map window panel, and you identified a known location in this map. So suppose that I have seen that this river, I can see that this is location. You can take the location, or you can identify a identical feature here. Like here you can see that this is the Sri Lanka, boundary of the Sri Lanka, and this is the point that we can see it here. And in the similar point, you can identify here in this map. Like I can add this map. This is not georeference. Suppose that this is another map or another map. So what I can do, I can go to the similar known locations. So suppose that this location I can identify in this map also. Okay. So yeah. So one point I will give it here, like here I will give one point here. Then I will come to the from map canvas, and the same location you need to identify in the reference map. So suppose that I have identified, okay, that location is same as this location, I can put the another point here. So in this way, again, you can see that the point, the information has been added. So in this way, you can add. But actually, suppose that if your reference map has like different resolution, and another map has different resolution, so might be there will be some shift, might
Yes, sir.
some change in the map. So that error will be come when you do the georeferencing. So it depends how precisely you identified the same location in the two maps, and how precisely you give give the points. So it depends.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So as you know that to derive the further information from this map, okay, like if I want to derive some attribute information, or if I want to suppose that this is the river, and I want to disguise this river, or I want to disguise this state boundary, or whatever the information I want to derive, and after that I want to calculate the length of the particular river, canal, road, and whatever it can be. So we need to convert this geographic map into the projected coordinate system. So how we will do that? That I can show you here. So again, you need to go to the raster and go to the projections. So in the raster, first you need to go to the top of the panel, go to the raster, then select the projections, okay, then select the wrap or reproject. The last option is coming, the wrap or reproject. Click on the reproject. This new window will be popped up. Here input layer is already added, or if this this information is not correct, so it should be first, it should be georeferenced in a geographic coordinate system, then only you can go for the projected coordinate system. Directly you cannot apply the projected coordinate system, because we need the latitude longitude information for the geographic transformation from geographic coordinate system to the projected coordinate system. If you apply directly this tool, suppose that if you select this tool and you think that you can directly convert into the projected coordinate system from undifferenced map, so it will be wrong. So your map will not be correctly referenced. So you always should follow the same step. First, you need to georeference the map in the geographic coordinate system, and after that, you can do the projection and transformations. Project transformations. So here you can do the reprojection. So input layer, you need to select the this layer that you want to reproject. So here it is already selected. If it is not rightly selected, then you can change from here. Okay. Then it is asking the source CRL. It is not needed. It is optional. Then target CRS. Okay. Then target CRS. What projection system you want to now assign? So as I have said that we want to assign the projected coordinate system. So here the projected coordinate system is coming like WGS, UTM WGS 84. So India belongs to what if you see the UTM grid here, if I can show you in the here UTM grid, UTM grid India, UTM grid zones of India. So now you can see here, or you can open this. Here we can see clearly. Here now you can see. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So here now you can see that here the India belongs to UTM zone 42 to I think 46. But as you know that we are using this portion of India, so this some area is coming in the UTM 43 and some area is coming in the UTM 44. Okay, so we can go either go for the UTM 43 or UTM 44. Okay, so here I can select the UTM zone 43. This, so now you can see that this region has been selected, but some distortions will be there because I am going to georeference the whole image into this particular UTM 43. Okay, so this much error we can expect it, and first after that after selection of the target CRS, you can select the resampling method and don't disturb the other values, and then you need to save the reproject map. So here we need to save the file in the same directory. We can save it here like georeferencing this map, and here I can change the name of the map. Here we can provide WGS 84 UTM like this, or we can reduce the name of in this way, I can give the name, save, and I can go for the run. Just click on the run. Now you can see that the map has been tilted. If I can see that, if you can see this map, now it is transformed from the geographic coordinate to the projected. So you can see the difference. This is the shape of the geographic projected map, and this is the shape of the UTM 43. So now if you go to the properties and see the CRS, so it is showing that UTM zone 43. So now this map is in the UTM zone 43 projected coordinate system. Okay, so now this map can be used for the different applications to derive the attribute information and all that. Okay, so
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
Can you repeat how to select the datum while setting this projection system? 43 and how to select this datum?
yeah. I can show you here. You just go to raster,
Right,
then go to projections,
right,
go to the last option,
right.
reproject. Open this window. In the input layer, you need to select this.
Yes, already selected.
Then you can see that the target CRS, this third option is coming, target CRS.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you just need to select here. This you can see here, select CRS, explore it,
Right.
explore it, So this window will be popped up. This unchecked, then you can go for the unchecked.
Yeah.
Then you can select the UTM. You can write UTM. The
Right.
is at the 4. Okay. So something like this you can put. So automatically it will show you. Here you can see it's coming.
It is
So once if you will select the